In order to completely understand the cost-saving lessons, you need to understand all the ways that college costs money and how the various costs work. That is the focus of this lesson. I will also give you estimates regarding what to expect in the way of cost. Finally, we will establish a baseline to use for later cost comparisons. That's a lot to cover, so let's get started. In this lesson, I will be giving you cost estimates. Realize that these estimates vary widely depending on their source and the underlying methodologies. I will be using what I consider to be reliable sources, and I will tell you what those sources are. Also, keep in mind that costs are going up. I am recording this in 2018. If you are listening to it later, your costs will be higher. College costs can be broken down into 6 broad categories. 1. Tuition. 2. Fees. 3. Housing. 4. Meals. 5. Books and school supplies. 6. Others. We will look at each of these in much more detail. Tuition is what colleges charge you for the courses you take. At most colleges, this is based on the number of credit hours you take. If you take more courses, your tuition goes up accordingly. When you see tuition estimates on the website of a college, they are generally based on taking either 12 or 15 hours per semester. It's rare, but some colleges charge a fixed amount of tuition rather than charging on a per-hour basis. At some colleges, courses in different majors have different tuitions. If this is the case, it is most likely courses in science, engineering, computing, pre-med, and business that have the higher tuition. Fees are what colleges charge for all of the services they provide that do not involve instruction. We will look at various fees in more detail in a few minutes, but examples include the library, parking, transportation, student government, athletics, and security. There are 2 types of fees. The first is college fees that are charged to all students. These are the bulk of the fees. They tend to be a fixed cost. That is, you generally pay the same fees no matter if you take 1 course or 7 courses or anything in between. That is something we will revisit when we talk about summer semester in a later lesson. The second is course-related fees, such as laboratory fees for science and engineering courses or material fees for art courses. Naturally, you only pay these fees if you take a course or courses that have a fee. Tuition and fees combined are what people think about when they think about college costs. According to the College Board, the average cost of tuition and fees for the 2017-2018 school year was $34,740 at private colleges, $9,970 for in-state residents at public colleges, and $25,620 for out-of-state residences attending public colleges. Housing can be anything from a dorm room you share with 1 or more other students to a private apartment. Some colleges only offer dorms, but many have other living arrangements available. Naturally, a nicer room or apartment or living without a roommate costs more. When considering housing costs, keep in mind that the campus may be closed over the breaks between semesters. Depending on your living arrangements, you may need to find alternative living arrangements when the dorms are closed. It is not uncommon for colleges to require freshmen to live on campus for their first year. After that, they may allow you to live off campus. Often, campuses that require freshmen to live on campus will waive that requirement for students living with their parents. Bottom line, make sure you completely understand your housing before coming to campus. Regarding meals, your college may have different meal plans available. Some of them may cover all of your meals, but many may not cover meals on weekends or when the campus is closed. Some colleges require students to purchase a limited meal plan even if they do not live on campus. Until recently, for example, my college required all undergraduate students to purchase a limited meal plan even if they were older, married, and commuting to campus just to take night classes. Meal plans generally expire. If, for example, you purchase a meal plan with 20 meals on it and you only eat in the school cafeteria 15 times that semester, you lose that other 5 meals. Although some colleges will let you use the overflow to purchase soda and snacks that you can keep for later use. I have had students I did not know pay for my lunch with their meal plan just because it was about to expire and they would lose it anyway. The College Board reports that the average cost of room and board in 2017-2018 was $10,800 at public institutions and $12,210 at private schools. Textbooks can be very expensive, especially when you consider the cost of hardback books at the bookstore. I once had a student tell me he had paid almost $400 for a single textbook. That one happened to be in tax accounting, so it was very complex. One of my later lessons will be on how you can save a lot of money on textbooks. Textbook purchases often involve more than just a physical textbook. In my operations management course, for example, we use a textbook from McGraw-Hill. As part of the package that students must purchase, they get access to McGraw-Hill's learning management platform called Connect. Connect access is absolutely required for the course. Other supplies might include pen, paper, and a computer or tablet. It might also include course supplies such as paint for an art class or a circuit breadboard for an electronics class. The College Board reports that in 2017-2018, this averaged $1,250 at public colleges and $1,220 at private colleges. To me, that seems a little low. Other expenses include anything you spend at college but do not pay for through the college. Examples include transportation, clothing, medicine, entertainment, snacks, and food purchases outside of the college, and so on. The College Board reports an average for 2017 to 2018 of $3,270 at public colleges and $2,730 at private colleges. However, this is such an individual expense that I would not put too much weight into that estimate. So you put all these College Board estimates together and you have a very large sum of money. The annual cost at a public college paying in-state tuition would be $25,290, assuming you live on campus rather than living at home. The annual cost at a public college paying out-of-state tuition would be $40,940. Notice that the only thing that is different for out-of-state students is the higher tuition. Room and board and other expenses are the same for in-state and out-of-state students. And the annual cost at a private college would be $50,900. Don't give up your dream of going to college just yet, and don't let these costs scare you. First, private colleges oftentimes give discounts. In fact, it is rare for a student to pay the full cost of tuition and fees. These are average costs. Many colleges cost less. In some cases, far less. And regardless of where you end up going to college, this course will help you save money. A lot of money. In fact, if you do everything I lay out in this course, you could cut your cost in half, or even more. Now that we've covered the basics, I want to return to the topic of fees. For many college students, fees are the most vexing of all costs. I know they were a constant annoyance to me back when I was in college. Before we talk about what makes them so vexing, let's look at a list of the type of fees you might encounter at your college. The names are not standard, so your college might call them something different. Plus, colleges come up with new fees all the time, so this list is not at all inclusive. Orientation fees are charged to incoming students. These are typically small and cover the cost of an orientation course. The highest orientation fee I've seen is $300. Freshman fees are charged your first year. These are used to pay for special support programs for first-year students. Campus fees cover different things at different colleges. However, they typically cover things like heating and air conditioning and building maintenance. Graduation or commencement fees would be charged your last semester. They would cover the cost of your graduation ceremony and diploma. While not common, environmental fees would cover the cost of a college going green or trying to be sustainable. The athletic fee supports the college athletic programs such as football and baseball. Sometimes, these entitle students to free or reduced cost tickets to games. I've also seen this called a spirit fee or a campus spirit fee. Technology fees cover the cost of computer labs and perhaps science and engineering labs, although usually course labs are paid for by a fee-based lab fee. Technology fees would also cover campus Wi-Fi. It is not well known, but often this fee entitles students to borrow technology-related equipment for use on their projects. For example, at one college I taught at, students could borrow a digital camera and a video camera from the computer center. The equipment was free to borrow since they had already paid for it with their technology fee. The transportation fee would pay for campus shuttle buses. At many colleges, transportation and parking are combined and just called transportation. When it is separate, the parking fee gives you a sticker or tag that lets you park on campus. Many colleges do not have adequate parking. As a result, many colleges prohibit freshmen from parking cars on campus. Others require some students to park off campus and take a shuttle bus to campus. Student activity fees pay for all of the student entertainment on campus. This might include a gym, free movies, the student center, and so on. It is not uncommon for colleges to lump the athletic and student activity fees together. Health fees cover students going to the campus health center or an off-campus facility the college has contracted with. You can generally waive this if you have your own health insurance or you're still on your parents' health insurance. That is all I could think of and have experience with, but I am sure there are others. If you're not sure what a fee covers, the college website should tell you. If not, you can ask the business office. Now that you know all about fees, why are they so vexing? 1. They are political. What do I mean by that? In Georgia, where I live, for example, during the past recession, the legislature made a big deal out of holding tuition constant and how they were holding down the cost for students. Another time, they started a plan called Fix for 4. Under this plan, students who met certain requirements would not see a tuition increase for 4 years. Sounds good, right? Well, in both cases, they were talking about just tuition and not the fees. When tuition is held constant, the result is that fees rise much faster than inflation. 2, they may not be reimbursed. When I was in college, I worked for 2 employers who would reimburse college tuition for their employees. One fully reimbursed tuition while the other reimbursed 80%, but neither reimbursed the fees. It's not just employers. Some scholarship covers tuition, but not fees. Back when I was in school, that was not such a big deal. Back then, the fees were small relative to tuition. Now, that is just not the case. This year, at the school where I teach, tuition is a little over $4,000 and fees are a little over $1,800. So fees represent 31% of the cost of registering for classes, ignoring room and board. For an in-state student at Florida State University, fees represent almost 29%. And at New Jersey City University, fees represent 29% as well. I should point out that not all colleges have these high fees. Fees represent less than 1% at MIT and about 6% at SUNY York College. From a cost standpoint, you might not think it matters if a college has low or high fees because you are interested in total cost. And this is mostly true. In many, but not all cases, low fees are charged at colleges with high tuition and high fees are charged at colleges with low tuition. But as we will see in a later lesson, the ratio of fees to tuition is a big deal for summer semester. 3, you can end up being charged fees for things you never use. When my daughter was in college, she was charged a parking fee even though she did not own a car and did not drive. At one college I taught at, remote students who never came to campus and might even live in another country were charged a parking fee. One of my students was taking classes online from Afghanistan and still had to pay the parking fee. It's not just parking. He had to pay the student activity fee when he clearly could not use any of the facilities. 4, you have no choice about fees. It is rare that you can waive any of them. My daughter and the student in Afghanistan I just mentioned could not get parking fees waived. When I was in college, I had a full-time job and a family. I came to campus to take classes and left soon after they were over. Yet I still had to pay the student activity fee. A few fees might, in fact, be fees you can waive. At my current university, students can agree to park off campus and take a shuttle bus to campus and have their parking fee waived. And, as mentioned earlier, students with other health insurance plans can often waive the health fee. 5, fees tend to go up in price faster than tuition, especially at public colleges. That is because politicians have a say in the tuition, but generally not the fees. Even at private colleges, there's often pressure to keep the tuition lower, and so cost increases get added to the fees. 6, is often hard to know what you're paying for, especially ahead of time. I looked at dozens and dozens of college websites in preparing this lesson. It was usually fairly easy to get a lump sum for the fees. That is, the cost of all the fees lumped together. Not once was I able to find a college that listed all of the fees individually along with their cost. They will, of course, be shown on your bill when you register for classes, but it's not really possible to find this level of detail out ahead of time. And 7, the fees are generally a fixed cost. You pay the same fees no matter if you take 1 or 7 courses. This fact will play into several cost-saving strategies. If you consider cost when picking a college, and I hope you will, then you need a way to comparison shop. One easy way is just to use Google. If you Google cost to attend X, where X is your college of interest, Google will generally take you right to the cost you need. For an even quicker route to compare multiple colleges, go to www.collegesimply.com/colleges. This website lists thousands of colleges broken down by state. For each college, it gives you an overview of its size, location and ranking, admission rates, cost, graduation rates, demographic breakdown of students, a list of the popular majors, and reviews. Some of the cost-saving techniques I will be discussing later will require numeric examples. In order to be consistent, I have decided to come up with a baseline to use for all of these cost considerations. In order to come up with these values, I scoured Department of Education databases and numerous college websites. I came up with baseline values for tuition and fees separately. 2 very important notes are in order. First, and most important, the tuition values I came up with are per credit hour values. You will see why I need this level of detail in later lessons. This is not the way tuition is presented on most websites, so my numbers will be lower than you are used to seeing. Just know that annual numbers you see are based on 30 credit hours. Second, my fee values are per semester, and the numbers you see on websites are annual values. For most colleges, the annual value is just twice the semester value. For both tuition and fees, I came up with 3 values: low, moderate, and high. I estimated low tuition to be $150 per credit hour and low fees to be $250 per semester. Are there colleges with lower costs? Absolutely. Are they common? No. Remember, these are just baselines for comparison. Your costs will absolutely be different. Plus, it is unlikely that a college with low tuition also has low fees. Nevertheless, if you took 30 hours at a college with its low tuition and fees, your annual cost would be $5,000. For moderate values, my estimate for tuition was $325 and was $600 for fees. Attending a college with this cost structure for 1 year would cost $10,950. And for high values, my estimate for tuition was $1,100 and was $1,400 for fees. Attending a college with this cost structure for 1 year would cost $35,800. Keep in mind that a college could have low tuition and high fees, or moderate tuition and low fees, for example. There are, in fact, 9 possible combinations. Of course, we are only looking at tuition and fees here. There is still room and board and supplies. It's just that these will not matter as much in later examples, so I will mostly ignore them later. I will explain this more when these costs come up again. These are just cost estimates. They ignore in-state or out-of-state costs for state colleges or higher costs for private colleges. That's all fine since we will be using these numbers for cost comparisons. If you want to follow along, just pick the combination that is closest to the colleges you are considering. These costs also ignore scholarships and other financial aid. That too is fine. Financial aid just lowers cost. To follow along when we use these numbers, just pick the costs that are the closest to your net costs. And again, we will be using these values for illustration. A strategy that lowers your costs with these examples will lower your costs regardless of what you end up paying.